Hi, welcome to my channel or welcome back. As you may or may not know, I'm Courtney. So today I want to share some of the dark side of Instagram with you. Last times I've done TikTok and I wanted to search the darker corners of Instagram and find some creepy and scary videos. And I did.
Let's talk about something terrifying.
We all heard about the faceless people in California. All of these descriptions in these stories that I've gotten about faceless people describe them the same way.
It's lost over skin where their features should be.
My demonic experience. About a week after her dad passed away, she's looking in this mirror. She can see someone standing on the other side of her bed. He keeps repeating, "That is not me. That is not me," over and over.
People always think that I'm paranoid, and I remember
that guys like this exist.
So a quick rundown of the video. There are some scary story times, some true crime tales, digital true crime tales. There's a video about AI that I decided to incorporate because it's not only entertaining, but pretty informative and can teach you about how to watch out for your safety online. I always scroll through the comments in videos, and I happened to find some that were pretty dang entertaining, so I decided to include a few. As a special little treat, I added something just a little extra. One funny thing I wanted to include that is written in the video description, but I wanted to say it. So I call this video FACELESS because I started to notice a little bit of a theme going on in the video. They all have something to do with the face in one way or another. Faceless people, criminals hiding behind technology, true crime in which, people do their crimes and we don't know who they are until they're caught. Another one where didn't fit, but if you do read the video description, I'll explain how I made it fit. So, quick disclaimer, each creator that's been featured in my video today is credited in my video description right under my intro, and I've linked each one of their Instagram accounts, and if they have a TikTok account, it is also linked. I have my musty, dusty, trusty HP computer with me today, so I can watch the videos. I'm doing this video all by phone, and I'm not used to this. Let's get started. All right, so this first Instagram creator, I do believe her name is pronounced lois.lane. Her @ is loiise.layne. She does a lot of scary story times, and her viewers do story submissions, testimonies. They send her email. This particular viewer wanted to remain anonymous, or the creator left her anonymous. So in 2020, the viewer, her father got really sick and ultimately passed away. So this is when the viewer moves in with her grandmother. And this is where strange paranormal occurrences start happening. And so now I'm going to let Miss Lois, the creator, take over. Let's start.
The subject line of this entire email is "My demonic experience." And just for context purposes, at the beginning of this email, this woman states that her father got really, really sick in 2020 and unfortunately passed away, which meant she stayed with her grandmother that following summer, mid-quarantine. About a week after her dad passed away, she was home alone trying to get some sleep. And right off the bat, she says that she had this overwhelming sense of someone watching her. And I feel like this wasn't the normal sensation of like, I feel someone watching me kind of thing, because she specifically states that she felt like she was getting in trouble or like somebody was mad at her. Now, this sensation was not going away, so she sits up and is staring at her closet door. And this is not just a normal closet door that is made of wood. She has one of the mirrored sliding closet doors. I will attach a photo now. So her doors look like this in her room. And as she's looking in this mirror, she can see someone standing on the other side of her bed. But when she looked over, there was no one there. So she just tries to go back to sleep. And as she's about to fall asleep, she hears her dad's voice in like a deep gargle say her name in the kitchen. So obviously, being super tired and not really understanding what's going on, she gets up and starts walking towards the kitchen. As she's walking through the hallway, she gets this overwhelming sense of nausea. And that's when the girl who sent me this kind of pauses in the hallway and trusts her gut and goes back into her room and locks the door. Crawls back in bed, starts scrolling on her phone to kind of calm herself down, and eventually she does fall asleep. But in her dream, she sees her dad in her dream, and he keeps repeating, "That is not me. That is not me," over and over and over. And by the time she wakes up, it is not only morning time, but the door that she locked before she crawled back in bed was unlocked and wide open. And the mirrored closet door was also open. And just a reminder, she's home alone. So she called her mom that morning and she left the same day.
I would also leave. So I've always heard this thing about mirrors facing each other or not having a mirror directly in front of your bed, which thankfully I don't. I have a huge dresser with like the huge mirror that's a whole separate piece, but luckily it's like not right in front of my bed. My room is big enough where I don't have to have it right there. I'm not really superstitious, but I mean, I do believe in things and I also don't want to risk things. So, all right. So here's a couple comments, just short ones. And then I have a good story in a comment. And obviously they're on screen. They will be. So this commenter just says, it's a bad idea to have mirrors facing your bed. You are extremely vulnerable when you sleep, and mirrors in the paranormal sense are a gateway or portals for spirits. And this person replies, and never facing each other. That's another portal. I would typically write can be gateways, could be a portal, but that's just me. All right, so now this story is a two-parter. So this hit too close to home because in my room, very randomly, I will feel what she felt, like being watched, and a scary gut feeling something is there, but I just can't see it. I tell it to go away, and it does. Other times I ignore it, and I have nightmares for, I think, a week at a time. It doesn't move on or say anything like her demon did, but when it does, it always in my bedroom knocking stuff over. I ignore it because I don't care. I am sick of this demon trying to scare me. I played with the Ouija board when I was 15-ish, and it works. I don't recommend it because they still bother me. At the time, this activity was horrible. My bed would shake and something so heavy sat on my bed right next to me. My whole body leaned over into it. The bathroom mess would happen more often than it does now, and I would hear heavy footsteps on the creaky tiles through the living room when no one was home. It doesn't happen anymore, I think because I told it to move the hell on, or it just got bored since I don't pay it too much attention. But every so often, maybe like every other month, it comes back to my room and I know it's there. I can feel it. I'll go to sleep peacefully and I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I know it's back. When it's there, you know. When it's gone, you know. It's such an obvious, hard to ignore feeling. I'm sure it lives in my bathroom instead of the closet. I'm not sure it's incredibly evil either, just a nuisance. There was also a time when I would wake up at 3:04 a.m. every single night for maybe a month or so. That's absolutely scary. So, speaking of Ouija boards, little side note, maybe a promo, I don't know. I haven't begun working on it, but I want to discuss in a video about Ouija boards and the history of Ouija boards. Now, this started off probably under a video in a comment section, people talking about how it's just a game. Well, the Ouija board is a game now, but it is not just a game. There's a whole history that goes back centuries. Either way, I'm going to have a whole video on it. This next creator, maybe you've heard of. She's quite huge on TikTok and Instagram, and she also has a YouTube. She is Ashley Inc. ASHLEEINC. So Ashley Inc. does a lot of spooky, scary story times where her viewers do story submissions to her email. These stories are about all types of different terrifying, scary, real-life scenarios, as well as paranormal, demonic, thinking people are cryptids, vampires. Man, it's such a wide range of scary. So this story submission is from a series Ashley, the creator, is doing of the faceless people of California. She gets so many submissions of people seeing what looks to be faceless people that she has made a map, because these are all taking place around the same places in California. And I do believe she mentions making this map in the video. The viewer that submitted this story is going by the name Sharon. It is a fake name. Hence the... Sharon is from Barstow, in between Las Vegas and Los Angeles in the Mojave Desert. And she is at one time driving when she has an encounter with what she believes is a faceless person. And I'm going to go ahead and let Ashley tell you the story. Let's go. Here we go. Spooky, scary story time. The faceless people of California.
We all heard about the faceless people in California because since starting Spooky Scary Storytime, I have gotten a ton of email submissions about this subject. Every time I read one of these emails, it says almost the exact same thing, and it's all almost the same area, which is like Southern California. This came from a woman named Sharon. That's a fake name. She said she's from a small town called Barstow between Las Vegas and Los Angeles in the Mojave Desert. And she said in this town, there's a bridge called the First Street Bridge. It's recently been replaced by a more structurally sound one, but when this story takes place, The bridge hadn't been replaced yet, so it's the older one. On one side of this bridge, on the riverside, there's a supposedly haunted building known as the Harvey House. I'm not sure about this. If anyone knows, I'm not sure if this is related to this story, but she thought it was important enough to point it out. She said the bridge is shaped like an S, and her parents lived on one side of it, and then city limits were on the other side, so she had to cross the bridge in order to get anywhere important. This story happened like 10 years ago. So she was 21 at the time, and she was living with her parents. And one night at 2 in the morning, she decided she wanted to go to McDonald's. So she drives across the bridge. She gets her food. She's on the way back, dead center of the bridge, when she sees this man. And he's walking in the same direction that she's driving. And he catches her eye because he's wearing all red, like red beanie, red hoodie, red pants, red shoes. As her car approaches him from behind, he just stops walking, and he's staring straight ahead of himself. She said she couldn't really get a good look at him because the bridge was only lit in certain parts. But she just got an extremely bad feeling as she passed him, so she kept driving. She just had this like pit in her gut. She had the feeling that if she didn't stop, he was going to jump off the bridge or do something terrible or attack her from behind. But she said she had no idea why she had this feeling. So she drives a little further, and then she decides she's going to turn around and go check this guy out. And as she's turning around, she realizes he stopped walking again. It was the same thing. He just stopped and he was staring dead ahead, but again, she can't really see him. So she finally turns around. She's coming back the other way, and as she's passing him, he just stops dead in his tracks and he looks at her. He turns to face her as she's creeping by slowly, and she said she was never so scared in her life because he had no face. She said, "Ashley, I swear I've never felt fear the way that I felt when he looked at me." So she speeds by him. She has to turn around again, though, obviously, to go home. She had to go all the way back to the other side of the bridge, and she turns around, she's coming back, and she slows down again because she's like, I just want to make sure I saw what I saw. She slows down to get another look at him, and he turns and slowly faces her again, and she said he had no face. It was the same as before. When she realized she wasn't seeing things, she hits the gas and she speeds all the way home. She said, to this day, I have no idea what I witnessed. I know what I saw.
See what I mean? And we do have a second one from her, and then I have few extra comments because I'm doing all her comments after her 2 videos. So this spooky scary story time was submitted to Ashley by one of her viewers named Eli. In 2010, Eli was driving late at night when he says he had an encounter with what appeared to be a faceless person in a red hoodie, which something about wearing red seems to be common amongst the story submissions, but not always. So I'm going to let Ashley take it away from here.
This comes from Moreno Valley, which is about an hour and 40 minutes southwest of where the first story took place in Barstow. This story was sent by a person named Eli, who says back in 2010 he saw a faceless woman walking down the road toward his car at about 3 in the morning. He was driving down a dark, long stretch of road when he saw a figure walking toward him in the middle of the road, so he stopped his car and he put the flashers on because this figure wasn't moving, and when she got closer he realized she was wearing a blue denim jacket, a red hoodie, and blue jeans, and she had no face. Of course, Eli thinks he's seeing things, so as she gets closer, she stops, she puts her hands in her pockets, and she's just staring, or what should be staring, straight ahead toward his car. He hit the gas, he sped around her, and as he passed her, he looked closer to make sure he wasn't just seeing things, but sure enough, she didn't have a face. He said the best way I can describe it is just very pale skin with a soft yellow-white glow. He said hearing the first story opened up a lot of memories for him, and he wanted to share his story because he thinks that the Air Force Base is involved. He's heard stories about it being haunted. There have been so many stories that I've gotten about faceless people, and they're almost all in the same area. If you know anything about this, let me know. And I'm actually considering making a map because the sightings do seem concentrated to Central and Southern California. Now, one thing I want to point out is all of these descriptions in these stories that I've gotten about faceless people describe them the same way, which is it's not that they have no face, it's glossed over skin where their features should be.
Okay, and so the map, she did bring it up. She has made the map and she's adding to it with each sighting. All right, now let's move to a few comments. Here are some comments that have to do with faceless people, and then some of the people in the comments mention shadow people. That will make sense. So I'm going to start actually with the comment where that would link faceless and shadow people. So this commenter says, in California, the Native Americans documented what is called the dark watchers, which often appear as dark shadows on the side of highways as they watch you as you drive by. They are described as tall, sometimes giant-sized, featureless, dark silhouettes, often adorned with brimmed hats or walking sticks. My cousin saw some driving down the one near Big Sur late at night. The Big Sur? I don't know where the Big Sur is, but driving down the one near Big Sur late at night. And I've heard other stories about them. I wonder if it's related. All right, so this story is crazy. This commenter says, so around 2012 to 2014, me and my wife were on our way to pick something up. It's about 2 a.m. and I stopped to get gas at the AM/PM that is on Archibald and the 10 freeway in Rancho Cucamonga. So there's a white car at pump 1, and I parked behind him on pump 3. As I got out to go pay inside, I glanced at him, but couldn't see his face as he was pumping the gas in his car. It was like my eyes wouldn't focus correctly. It was like a blur where his face was. We were in a hurry, so I thought that's weird and dismissed it, thinking I'll double check on my way out. Well, after I paid, I walked out, and I walked to my car as he was just getting in his car to leave. Mind you, it's 2 a.m., and there's no one around. Well, as I get to my car, I notice my wife is crying, and I'm tripping out, asking her, what's wrong? What happened? She tells me he said something to her. And as I look over to see the guy, he drives off. So I'm effing confused and wondering, WTF is going on? I fill up my tank and get back in my car, and I'm asking her what happened. Why are you crying? And she couldn't tell me. It was so weird. I felt like I'm in the twilight zone at that moment. So I start driving off. And as I'm pulling out of the gas station to get on the freeway, I see the car parked right on the corner, just sitting there. It freaked me out. So I slowly drive by looking to see the driver's face, and I couldn't see his face correctly. My eyes wouldn't focus enough to render it. A lot of people mentioned the rendering about these faceless people encounters. It completely freaked me out, and I was happy to get the heck out of there and onto the freeway. I have asked my wife, and to this day, she says she remembers that happening, but doesn't know why she was crying or what the guy said. I just always wanted to know WTF happened. It's tripped me out for years. Okay, here's one. So this commenter says, I saw a person with no face about 17 years ago in LA. I was driving to the gym, late morning. I'm driving up Crescent Heights between Santa Monica Boulevard and Sunset, and a man was walking very slowly down the street. I looked at him as I drove by, and he had no face. I never told anyone. It was broad daylight in the middle of West Hollywood. I would have never mentioned it ever again had I not heard your faceless people story. This one's a good one. And this is where it kind of starts to go to shadow people. I don't know if they're affiliated, if they have something to do with each other, the faceless people and shadow people, but it's an interesting comment nonetheless. Commenter says, when I was a kid, we went to a street carnival. I had this feeling to follow this lady pushing a stroller. I turned around, caught up to her, and will always regret looking inside. I thought it was a child. No face, more like blurred, like a large head, what I can refer to as macrocephaly, which in medical terms means basically enlarged head, but elongated like a gray, ALIEN. So big head, long. But I didn't feel like it was a kid. The mom just looked at me coldly but smug, not angered or anything like that. I felt so scared and never told anyone until today. I think of that often. It was in Modesto, California. My son has a mild case of craniosynostosis. Oh my goodness. My son has a mild case of craniosynostosis, so I can confidently say it wasn't a normal cranial malformation that I saw, or any I've talked with a specialist about when trying to figure out a diagnosis. I don't know what craniosynostosis is. I should have probably looked it up and put it on the screen, but I didn't. Let's move on. This one's crazy. So this commenter says, I woke one night in the early 2000s and needed to paint this for my late cousins. She needed to paint it. For her late cousins, Ronnie and Rick. I'd never seen an angel or anything without a face before until this dream. After giving this gift to them, I could never figure out why she didn't have a face. So I started to do research, and turns out a lot of the figurines and other angels are done without a face. When you spoke about it, it made me go right back to that dream where she was glowing and hovering over a huge waterfall. I tried to do my best, including the beautiful hair she had. If she was even female, I don't know. All I know is it was 3 a.m. and I had to paint her. In my mind, it said for Ronnie. Then she puts that emoji. I did enlarge the picture and enhance the color a little bit. So she woke up around 3 a.m. and just felt the need to paint it. And in the dream said it was for Ronnie. Now wild. Okay, so here's another one. This commenter says, I was visited by a shadow figure every day growing up. Only once, all my family saw one outside the house. It had an axe and a cape, like they draw just like the way they draw the Death cartoon. At the same time, they watched me through the window while I was watching TV. I always told my mom. She would dismiss me, saying it was an uncle walking around or watching TV. In that house, we had things moving, breaking by itself, TV going on and off, heard footsteps, getting touched by something, etc. They disappeared as I moved out of that house. The next creator is Bobby Curtis Lee. Now, Bobby's content is a little different from the last creators. Hers is more on the true crime side. like little TikTok and Instagram bite-sized pieces of true crime and things that have actually happened, terrifying situations. She also has a YouTube podcast. It's called Oddities on Elm Street. Now, I have only watched about 5 minutes of one podcast episode, so I don't know how much or how little is irrelevant to her Instagram and TikTok. But if you're interested in watching her podcast, I have linked it below in my video description. It will say Oddities on Elm Street. The particular video I am featuring today, I chose because I think it does bring some awareness, and it's scary situations and terrifying. So she shares 3 stories about 3 men who happen to be service technicians and a delivery driver. So, a service technician is, someone who comes to your home and services your internet or does maintenance on home appliances, maybe your cable, satellite, what have you. And then the other one, like I said, was a delivery driver. I do need to put a trigger warning on this video because it does have to do with violence and SA. And specifically, the third and last story Bobby shares has to do with the SA and killing of a child. This is a case that it's on the more recent side. It was a few years ago. And so now I'm going to start.
People always think that I'm paranoid, but then I remember that guys like this exist. This is Anthony Triplett. He was employed by Comcast back in 2006. He was called out to set up the cable in a woman's apartment, 39-year-old Janet Wordage, and just a few hours later, she was found unalived in a bathtub. So I'm sure Anthony was probably at the top of the suspect list for investigators. It was pretty clear that he was the prime suspect, but they had to wait for DNA evidence to come back so that they had the right to arrest him. And investigators had made the mistake of telling Comcast that they had only interviewed Anthony as a witness, and as a result of this, Comcast kept Anthony employed and kept sending him on service calls. So while investigators are waiting for this DNA to come back, another woman, 23-year-old Ursula Sikowski, is unalived in her home. Anthony had essayed them, brutally unalived them, robbed them. There's also cases like this where this service tech goes out to fix the internet in an 83-year-old woman's house. He comes back the next day, decides he wants to rob her, and unalives her. And even cases like this, which is much more recent. If you don't know, that is 7-year-old Athena Strand. She was abducted by a delivery driver who at first tried to claim that he had backed over her, and in an attempt to cover up what he'd done, he kidnapped her and unalived her, but it's being revealed as the case goes on that he actually has a past with child SA. So all of this just to say, be careful with who you allow in your home.
You do have to be careful, especially when you are a woman. Anybody needs to be careful, but especially if you're a younger person or if you're a woman. This is part of the reason I am so interested in true crime. I don't understand why people do these things. Sorry, I keep picking at my mascara. I think I have some eyelashes stuck together and it's bugging me bad. So it baffles me that people can do the things they do, and I understand. I get it. I know why. I'm very interested in psychology. I study psychology, not professionally, a hobby of mine to study psychology and behavioral analysis. So I completely understand the different types of people, personality disorders, behavioral disorders. And true crime also, it can teach you. It has taught me very well to be more vigilant as a person, just more aware of my surroundings. We're going to go to the comments now. There's 3, because I'll just go in order. This commenter says, "This is very real. Years ago, a Verizon technician unscrewed the lock on my basement door and tried to access my apartment from the exterior basement access door. Very fortunately, I was in my kitchen when he tried to get in, with my neighbors walking up on my kitchen porch at that moment. I reported him to the police and to Verizon. Nothing happened. He had no appointment, and the lines had already been installed. I was freaked out. I had to report him again for parking his Verizon rig in front of my house while on his breaks, with no work in the area. He was eventually fired, but I never felt safe after that." My goodness. My goodness. It's sad that we gotta be so careful. Can't be alone. Gotta make sure and check all your windows and doors and locks and make sure nothing's been tampered with. Come on. This next commenter says, I've been stalked, harassed by a maintenance man in my apartment building. He tried coming into my apartment at 10 p.m. one night just to fix something and proceeded to show up outside my building all the time. Also have been hit on by multiple other servicemen while in my apartment. Thankfully, no physical assault. My cousin had a maintenance man show up after a service with an axe in his hand. She saw him in her security system. It makes me very weary of letting any man I do not know in my living space or to have access to me. Perfectly understandable, honey. I feel you. All right, and this last comment for the video. This commenter says, the man that installed my internet was creepy. He kept flirting with me, asking me if I lived alone. Thankfully, at the time, my in-laws lived with me. My father-in-law is not a little man. As soon as he came down, magically, the man was done. How about that, huh? The next Instagram creator, I believe her name or username is pronounced Minaz Sharif. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. It's spelled MEHNAZ_SHARRIF. She has a POV style video, and she has a pretty cool account. She's linked below, her Instagram and TikTok. Now, I thought this one would go great. Like I said, it's a POV style video about real crimes that are currently and have been being committed utilizing technology and advanced AI in order to do financial scams, ransom scams, mimicking people's voices, spoofing phone numbers so that it looks like you're getting a call from someone you know. And this happens to everyday people. It happens to companies. It happens. It really does happen. Now I'm going to play the video. Unfortunately, I had to remove the awesome audio she had over it because I'm not sure if it would create a copyright issue for me. She's like, listen to me. With all this AI stuff going on, we need to have a safe word. I'm being serious. Why on earth would we need a safe word? So, Jennifer De Stefano got a call from her daughter screaming for help. Then a man's voice said they had her and demanded $1 million if she wanted her daughter back. Luckily, Jennifer tried calling her daughter, who did pick up. It turns out someone had used AI technology to replicate her daughter's voice. A ransom scam. A finance worker in Hong Kong was tricked into paying out $25 million to a scammer after they used AI to pose as the company's CFO or chief financial officer in a video conference call. This worker thought it was a conference call with other employees, but they were all AI generated. His coworkers sounded and looked the same as the people he worked with. While scams like these have been around for decades, kidnappers and scammers and spammers can now use recordings and online posts to appear more realistic than ever. And then this is her caption. Those who post on social media with public accounts are more likely to be targeted by these scammers, spammers, and criminals. Stay safe and have a safe word with your family and friends so they aren't scammed and so you're not scammed. And I think that is so smart to have some kind of code system or safe word. That's very smart. That scares me. I get spam and scam calls all the time, and my father does too. Everybody I know gets them. And what scares me is they go for the young and they go for the elderly. They don't care who you are. They don't care if you're sick, poor, if they're going to make you go homeless. They don't care if you have Alzheimer's or dementia or if you're an amputee in a wheelchair. You're money to them. You are money to them. That's all they care about. Protect yourselves. If you're a younger person with an elderly parent, make them aware of this stuff, and look out for them. Look out for your younger ones. Everyone should be aware of this. All right, let's move to the comments. So this commenter says, this happened to my friend's mom who's in a wheelchair. I just said that. She has 3 daughters, and she got a call saying she was never going to see them again, and she needed to send them money, and had some girls screaming in the background. It was terrifying. She probably doesn't know too many details, but that's still a wild comment. And this commenter says, they tried this with my grandma using an AI voice of my brother saying he was in jail and asking for money for bail. They knew a lot of specifics. It was scary. But what set her off was that he called her grandma when we have a different name for her. So she ended up calling around to check and found out it was a scam before she sent anything, luckily. Thank goodness, right? You got to check for these things. Don't, like I always say, stay calm in a situation, any situation. When you panic is when you stop thinking. Stay calm. This commenter says, my grandma got a call from my brother saying he was stuck in Florida and needed $1,000 so he could get home. My grandma said it sounded exactly like him. She said the only reason she didn't fall for it was because my brother was literally in the house with her. This last video is like an extra cherry on the top cake. It's like a little creepy thing. Hopefully you haven't seen it yet. I just came across it on Instagram and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to post this on the screen first and read it. I believe this person's username is pronounced Nandhain Slice. Nandhainslice. You could check out their page. Their Instagram is linked. I didn't find a TikTok or anything else. And their content is not quite, it's a little, no offense, sorry. Let's read it. All right. So this creator, his caption says, it started like any normal Halloween party. Everyone was having fun when a stranger showed up wearing a creepy mask. We all assumed he was a friend of someone else, so no one questioned it. But then in the middle of the party, he slowly removed the mask, and his real face looked even worse than the costume. The room went silent. Just a few seconds later, he walked into the crowd and completely disappeared. We checked with everyone. Nobody knew him, and nobody saw him leave. To this day, we still have no idea who he is. All right, and here's the video. That time a stranger crashed our Halloween party. We still don't know who he is. Obviously it's a mask on top of another mask. I hope, but I thought it was creepy and worth sharing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry about the lighting. The power is out and I'm having to use light from the window. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed watching these videos and I enjoyed making the video. And have a good day. I hope everyone had a great Halloween and I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving and Christmas if you celebrate those holidays. And that's it. I'm Courtney. Make sure to give the video a like if you liked it. It helps me to learn what viewers like. And leave a comment about whatever you want. If you feel like subscribing, subscribe. Till then, I will see you next time. Bye.